you need someone that's passionate about UX and design and how I feel when I use a product and what's intuition, what's not. And it's not always data driven. Sometimes it is. Data is important. You have to consider it. But there's a creativity aspect. There's emotions. It's a much more complex process than just taking requirements and building them out. I'd rather people try and fail than just like live in this kind of box and not try anything and look at the world like fly by, right? The overarching kind of directive is just give it a try and see what works, what doesn't, adapt. It offers great capability and use it every day. It does a lot of things very well, but I think it's actually kind of supercharged SaaS, if anything, especially small businesses like us, where you can actually keep growing with less headcount. You have more capabilities. And to be honest, it actually removes like a layer for almost everyone in the business of the type of work that wasn't necessarily the funnest to.
Hey there, welcome to Sounds Good. It's great to see you.
Yeah, pleasure to be on, Anna. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, my first question is, how dead is SaaS in Quebec?
How dead is what? Is SaaS?
SaaS. Yes.
Um, yeah, it's not dead at all. I mean, if it's dead, someone should tell us, because we're growing pretty strongly this year. We're actually looking at between 40 and 50% year-over-year growth. So it doesn't seem dead to me. But yeah, there's a lot of hype going on, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
not looking too good.
Yeah. It was such a funny moment. A couple of episodes before, I was talking to one SF founder, and it's doom. AI already took all the jobs, and everyone's panicking. And then there was another guy from New York, and he's like, "We're sipping margaritas on a rooftop. We don't even think about this. Everything's chill." And then,
Yeah.
like, is it like really those hot spots around the world where people are trying to go on with the hype?
I think, and this is broader than the whole AI hype cycle, but I think it's just a casualty of social media. But nuance has basically disappeared. It's like it's not a thing anymore. It's not cool to be nuanced. It's have to be like you just said. It's one extreme or the other. So that's unfortunate. But I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. I mean, it offers great capability, and we use it every day, and I use it every day. It does a lot of things very, very well. But no, I think it's actually it's kind of going to supercharge SaaS, if anything. Like especially small businesses like us, where you can actually keep growing with less headcount. You have more capabilities, and to be honest, it actually removes like a layer for almost everyone in the business of the type of work that wasn't necessarily the funnest to. You can delegate like a bunch of stuff that's repetitive or boring, and work with like scheduled agents and get some really kind of repetitive stuff going for you automatically. And so up to now, I think it's only helped. I think SaaS in general. There is an exception though, and again, I'm going to try to stay nuanced, but the what I call like shallow SaaS, meaning that I think everything I just said applies to when you manage and own important data, what we call like a system of record. So like we're a good example. We own like leave and PTO data that is used for payroll, that is used for compliance, that is used for many very important things that you can't wing it, basically. Like it's very deterministic. It has to be there. It has to be set, repeatable. So everyone that manages this type of data, I think, is okay. And actually AI will help these companies. Where there's an exception is what I said before is kind of shallow SaaS. So there's like these solutions, where they connect to systems of record and present an interpreted visualization or interpreted data set. I think if for those companies, then it could be a lot scarier for sure.
Okay, so one of my questions that I wanted to ask you is, um, there is a bit of an argument about companies like Vacation Tracker, right? Like, for example, from my previous job at SaaS Group, we actually owned one tool that is fairly similar to what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And I've heard time and time again that it's like the easiest tool to substitute with AI. It's the
Yeah.
easiest to build. It's the easiest because allegedly, anyone can build it in a
Yeah.
weekend. It's just vacation tracker.
Yeah.
So what's your mode? I understand now that, like, okay, security, compliance, these are very
Yeah.
important things, but is there anything else? Let's say, what if AI becomes okay and much better with security, and we can actually share some sensitive data, which
Yeah.
we have been doing. Let's be honest, everyone
Yeah.
uploaded all their company's information into Claude day one.
Yeah.
So what's the mode for vacation tracker and similar companies that, again, allegedly can be vibe coded over a weekend?
Yeah. I mean, it's a complicated answer, but I think there's a few things. So you can indeed, if you're looking at, so I'll take a step back. Leave management and PTO management is very wide in terms of the range of complexity. You can have like a small, let's say a 15-person company that manages their leave with a spreadsheet, right? And then it becomes like a little bit too cumbersome. And then you start looking for a tool like ours. So that would be kind of like the entry point, very early on in the first exposure of like a company looking for a tool like ours. So they want something like simple and easy and intuitive that kind of integrates and maybe they're on Teams or on Slack and they want something that integrates into their flow of work. But the needs in terms of complexity are quite low. They just want to track and see who's out. For that use case, technically you're right. You could probably vibe code something in a weekend and it's probably not going to be as polished or stable, but it'll be good enough in terms of like replacing a spreadsheet. So that's like the very, very early, or more simplistic use case of leak tracking. Up to, a enterprise size client with offices in 25 countries that has to track stat holidays and concurrence and accruals and integration into their payroll system. And we also do that, right? But you're not going to vibe code that in a weekend. That's not going to happen. You could try, but then the maintenance and again, the security and SOC 2 compliance and GDPR and like all these things that you need to manage, you would very quickly be kind of overwhelmed. And I'm 100% convinced you would spend more money, not just outright money, but like opportunity cost of all those people managing those things and maintaining those things versus growing your core business. So at that end of the spectrum, it makes absolutely no sense. You could, if you wanted to, like you could decide to build your own car in a garage, right? Like it doesn't make sense. It's not because you have the tools and part of the knowledge that, it makes sense to do that. So, and between those two spectrums, you have like these kind of infinite shades of gray of progressive complexities, right? So for certain businesses, it can make sense at a very early stage or a very simple, like kind of value proposition that you need to kind of, vibe code your own thing. And you also need the interest and the technical know-how, right? Because like, let's say, I don't know, like a plumbing shop in Wisconsin, that's 15 people. Are you really going to start vibe coding your thing and maintaining and then the security and like maybe, and like you said, like the technology keeps evolving, and who knows in 5 years at the speed at which things are going. But again, like even for a 15-person shop with that profile, probably doesn't make a lot of sense. If you're a small dev shop doing like AI outsourcing, for companies and you're a tech company at your core, you have developers on staff, maybe actually maybe it makes sense. And we have had clients that did it, right? There's not many, but we have had clients that did it. And that's okay. And we're kind of evolving with it. And our ICP is slightly upper range than that. That kind of profile that I described is really like the entry point to a product like ours, but it
Yeah.
goes much, much further than that. And that's where we're focusing most of our energy.
Interesting. It's very similar to, like, to be honest, where I stand with that. Like, I feel like if you have been getting, like, let's say a $9 value out of the tool, and you like it's so simple that you can vibe code it, then
Yeah.
probably go and do it. But if
Yeah.
you have been using a tool that somebody has been working on for years, making it stable, making it
Yeah.
valuable, making sure that you can work with it, and it simplifies your life, then
Yeah.
absolutely don't. And to
Yeah.
be honest, another part of that thought for me is that I think over the years that SaaS has been developing, there was this one mantra that everyone was following is like remove friction, remove friction, remove
Yeah.
friction. And then I feel like we we removed friction so much that basically we started growing and building things for everything and everyone.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe we should take a step back and add that friction and make people actually think what they're subscribing to, so they don't use 72 tools for their 3 people team,
Yeah.
right? They use 13, but that
Yeah.
makes sense. And obviously there you have a huge churn, and maybe you have to vibe code something that is way smaller and doesn't make sense for you to use.
Yeah. I think, and I mean, we're actually like, we're actually the persona of that company, right? We're about 20 people. We work in tech. And you know, we're not ditching our CRM anytime soon. Like it does not make sense for the amount of money that we're paying for it. Again, taking a developer and removing that focus from our core product and growing the business, it doesn't make sense. However, we are building a bunch of stuff on top of it, right? Like in the last few weeks, we're exploring, coming up with like it's not really a vibe coded, but it's actually like owned by Claude, like kind of a customer satisfaction rating for all of our customers. So it's like this layer that is built on top, and then via MCP we connect to CRM, Stripe, Posthoc for product analytics, all these platforms, and Claude comes up with a score and a ranking, and our account management can take action on that. So it's like this again. It's like this layer on top of these systems of record that we will, I don't want to say never, but not anytime soon getting rid of, right? They're too important. They're the core of the business. So to your point of like removing friction, all these people started buying all these things that they didn't maybe necessarily need. I think that's the layer, all those tools that you don't necessarily need, that you probably maybe build a better version yourself in, it's not an afternoon. We're talking like 15 minutes of work of to come up with like a customer satisfaction score that we can act on, with very detailed behaviors that explains the score, the algorithm, and weighted metrics. And this took, 20 minutes to do. That's the game changer to me. It's like the layer on top of these systems. But yeah, I think there's always like these, when new tech comes in, there's always these extreme views and extreme cases of people like pushing it way past, what its kind of practical function is. I mean, I'm gonna, I guess, reveal my age here, but I'm old enough to have seen the early days of the internet. And I remember when like the first video conferencing showed up, I remember people saying, well, airlines are done. Like airlines are going to shut down. People are not going to travel anymore because you could talk to anyone anywhere in the world live, right? Because again, it's a good example of like pushing an extreme tech use case to something that's not practical and not going to happen. So I think we're seeing the same thing with AI right now.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I want to ask you about adoption, because you said you guys are using a lot of AI
Yeah,
within the company, and I mean we were all kind of pushed to do that, right? Because the narrative from the very beginning was, oh God, we're behind. But what are we behind? The My question is like, for me, for example, the biggest problem was, okay, where do I use AI? Like, where does it make more sense? Where am I removing friction for myself
yeah,
and not creating another, part-time job?
right.
Uh, so how did you go about this? Like, was there a bit more of a, I don't know, top-down or like tech folks down
Yeah.
motion, or you had something on your own?
So the way we approached it is, um, the general guideline within the business was just try it and ask yourself, you know, first ask yourself what you could automate. Anything that's sort of like repetitive that you don't like doing. It goes back to what I was saying before is this can actually be used to make your life more interesting and your work more interesting. So any aspect of your work that you don't like doing, try to automate it or try to have delegate to it. And then with this trial and error, you're going to see very quickly what the capabilities are. So it's more like pushing the team to give it a chance. But again, you have to accept that there might be collateral damage, right? You might screw up, you might lose time. It's learning and that's okay. But I rather people, try and fail than just like live in this kind of box and not try anything and look at the world like fly by, right? So the overarching kind of directive is just give it a try and see what works, what doesn't, adapt. And like it's human nature to kind of be lazy. If you don't like doing something that you can replace something, doing that for you, it's going to happen naturally. If you have to go outside of your way and go through so much friction to force something to get that done, and it's actually more work, you're not going to do it because it's actually more work. So just give it a try, see what works and experiment. And that's what we've been doing. And I think like various functions in the business use it to different levels, and that's okay. And that's going to keep kind of evolving over time. And we created this like Slack channel where we exchange like success stories and less successful stories of like how we use it, what we tried, what doesn't work, what does work. So people don't have to, keep reinventing the wheel on their own. Again, being a distributed company, that's like one of the side effects is there's a risk of like me, spending an afternoon on something and then someone in Spain spending an afternoon on something. We're working on the same thing. And if I had just shared my experience, like they would have, just learned it. So we just promoting communication in terms of like what you're trying and what works and what doesn't. But yeah, it's very black and white in terms of some things it's incredible at and some things it's just absolutely terrible. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of experimenting.
That's for sure. And, another thing that we started discussing here on the podcast that I don't know where I stand, but also, I don't have a company and people to manage, so maybe I don't have a say here. But I heard this opinion that AI is great in automating mundane tasks and everything, and it
Yeah.
makes you so much faster. So and this is a founder from San Francisco. So he said, then, you're done with your work and it gives you an opportunity to just leave and, spend more time with your family and spend your more time on something else. And I, I want to agree with that. And I want to say like, oh, yes. Then, I automate everything and then I just go and my agents are doing my job.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's how it works. I think like on one hand, it's your psyche, it's like in COVID. Oh my God, are they looking at me now that I'm actually
Yeah.
making lunch and I'm not working? And you actually start working more. Is there still a policy or kind of like unspoken policy and that you have to do something, you have to do more, you have to do something? Like what's your take on this? What do you guys do?
Um, I mean, I don't, again, being like a remote company, I see output and outcomes, right? I don't see like people's schedule. And that's okay that we rate people on, their impact on the business. So, and that's okay. So I can only speak for myself in terms of like work-life balance and how it affects, me personally. And I mean, I can 100% say that I'm working more than before. However, it's not a bad thing because I want to work more because it's more fun because I delegated a bunch of stuff that I don't like doing. And it's super interesting and it's very stimulating. And it's almost, I was going to say the first time, it's not the first time, but one of the first times in my career that I had to talk to myself like at night on the weekends of like, okay, you need to take a step back because it's so engaging and with like your phone, you could keep going on your cloud project at the same time that you started on your laptop, like the day before. And it's this wheel that keeps on going, right? And it's super stimulating. And you have to be very disciplined in terms of like not losing your mind and be like, obsessed with this.
Yes.
And, I mean, ironically, it's what we help companies do with our product also.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's almost like a dangerous thing to get sucked into. You can become like very passionate about it. And, yeah, it's very stimulating, but it's a lot of fun, and it's overall very positive. Yeah.
Okay. Again, kind of a bit of uh, an argument that I'm having with myself in my head is, yes, okay, it's super fun, right? And I want to do all kinds of creative stuff on
Yeah.
Quad and whatnot, and just kind of keep hitting that machine. But now, and you said it yourself, right? People work more. People want more of that
Yeah.
because we like the output. Oh, there is more text, more code, more
Yes.
features to build.
Yes.
So where is the stop button?
Yeah.
What's the stop word in
So
this
yeah,
dangerous game?
what you described, and I've read a bit about this. Um, you do have this weird, I don't want to say like fake satisfaction. It's real satisfaction of like, you have this impression of being hyper productive, right? Um, when it comes to business, I'm gonna split my answer in two here, because there's like hobby exploration,
Yeah,
playing with the
sure.
tech and just having fun with the tech, which I also do kind of on side. And then there's when it comes to work. And when it comes to work and productivity and running a business, you have to be very disciplined in terms of like, what is the actual impact of this, right? And I think it's on us to stick to hold that discipline, and separate the noise and the kind of like this false sense of productivity of just like producing stuff, and the actual things that have impact. So I'll give an example. Like, producing for a company like us, producing landing pages is like, it's such a commodity now. Like, beautifully designed landing pages for the next product idea that we want to test in the market. You could produce, I could personally produce like 40 landing pages by the end of the day, right? Like, there's no friction anymore. There's no limit anymore. And it would be too easy to like produce all this stuff and then put it out there and feel good about my day, right? But if no result comes out of it, that was probably not the optimal thing to do. I'm better off producing, like working with the team, exchanging ideas, actually fleshing it out, and then producing maybe our top three, and then measuring like traffic and clicks and click throughs, and then seeing like what the outcome is, and then doing something with that, building the product, going to get more revenue, right? You always have to keep that line of like, why are we doing this? We're not doing it to produce 40 landing pages. We're doing it to grow the business. So you have to keep yourself kind of honest in terms of like, just creating noise and feeling good about yourself because you created these like shiny landing pages, and actually moving the needle, like in terms of like the business performance. It's hard to
Yeah,
stay disciplined, but again, I think it's a little bit easier in a smaller company. I think larger businesses are maybe more at risk, getting lost in
interesting.
this, getting lost in this like just producing for producing mindset.
I think otherwise because in bigger companies you have a process of like, can I do this, and then is it approved, and then is it approved
Mm.
in the second stage, and blah blah blah.
If you have So I agree with you. If you have a good management, like business management structure, which, having done a bunch of like business consulting, unfortunately, it's not very often. It's not the case. There's sometimes very loose, and people are like kind of left to their own for like a few days, a few weeks. Um, Performance management is not like, again, from what I've seen, is the bar is quite low. Which good. We'll put it that way. So it's easy for big businesses to fall into this like, show your manager what you produced and not measure the business outcome. Right? Again, you need like that
Okay.
discipline to do that. And I'm not saying like no big businesses do that. I think it's easier to fall in that trap of like managing perceptions, and more like, like managing up what you have produced versus business outcomes that you have affected.
Yeah.
When you're small, you can't hide that, right? It's such a small team that, if one of 20 people stops producing for 2 weeks, everyone feels it. And someone else is going to have to work to compensate. You have less of a critical mass to like absorb that loss of productivity. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The reason, I asked was also that, at South Group, when we were acquiring companies, like how it usually goes, we try to pick up some low-hanging fruit, right? So usually it's something like, okay, let's add a few features. Let's make sure that, the design is there, the user experience, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And now, because it's so fast and, the process is now, okay, go to customer support, download everything, make sure you have like all the bullet points, what people want, blah, 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 and just do it. And one of the teams did that, and I was talking to them and I was like, okay, it looks amazing. Do you think you did a good job? And they were like, we definitely made it worse because we built so much.
Yeah.
So much, and we didn't test it, and we overwhelmed the customers, and it
Oh,
was
yeah.
a huge change in this fairly old product, very fast, and yeah, we have to admit it, we might have made it worse because we could.
Yeah. And it's very easy to build stuff.
Yes.
And then we're back to kind of the craft of product management and building product and keeping things simple and very intuitive. And it's a craft, right? It's a thing that some people are very good at. And having like these unlimited building capacity tools kind of exposes, who's good and not good at doing that. I think, it's very easy to like you said, like scan all like the feature requests and just like literally build them out and implement. And yeah, I agree with you. Like to your case, chances are you're going to make your product worse. You need someone that's passionate about UX and design and how I feel when I use a product and what's intuition, what's not. And it's not always data driven. Sometimes it is. Data is important. You have to consider it. But there's a creativity aspect. There's emotions. It's a much more complex process than just taking requirements and building them out. And yeah, I think it just exposes, that concept to a new level.
Yeah. All right. Well, you touched upon this a little bit already, so I want to continue with a bit of your story, right? Because you came to Vacation Tracker from Workleap, which is a humongous company, and I had Simon here on the podcast actually
Yes.
a year and a half ago, something like
Yeah.
this. It's like it was one of the longest episodes ever. Like we just could not shut up. And
Yeah.
it was very interesting. But like I know a bit of the story there, right? And I wonder maybe, a bit of how you got here, but also just kind of feeding into what we just discussed. Is there ever for you this kind of inkling to make Vacation Tracker the next Workleap?
um, yeah, I mean, no, the answer is no. Because Workleap
See,
it's
now I can edit it and it will be a yes.
no, it can't be yes, because Workleap is a mix of many things. I mean, the closest, like Workleap has multiple products, and it's like this kind of umbrella company to these multiple products. So making like Vacation Tracker Workleap would be kind of, I think, illogical in terms of just the structure of the business. Vacation Tracker it's quite a niche product, that has a massive addressable market, but it's a very like specific case in terms of like what it does. Workleap is very wide. It's a very, very different, business to manage. So, yeah, I don't think, I mean, if you said, do you want to take like, Vacation Tracker to the level of like, Office Vibe, maybe like one of Workweek's products, maybe, that would be, I think, that would make a bit more sense in terms of like, business size and customer base. And it's a very, it's a good HR tech product. It's good at what it does. It's niche. So yeah, I think that would be, I think, a good objective to have. But yeah, the Workleap as a whole, it's a whole different
Yeah.
animal.
Yeah, yeah. How does it feel? Like, because Workleap, I don't even remember right now, and they probably grew again. How many people were there? But you went to a 15 people team.
Yeah.
How's the leap? How's the work leap for you?
How's the Workleap?
Yes.
Good fun. So I joined Workleap. This is what, like 6 years ago now. It was about 275 people. It was early COVID. So we were transitioning to kind of a remote work culture. Of the 275 people, all of them were in the greater Montreal area. And then, so I was there for 4 years, and we basically doubled the business, in headcount and in revenue, in that 4 years. And it was a very different business, when I left than when I started there. We were about 450 when I left. I think they actually went down a bit, after I left. I think they reduced the team, size a little bit. But yeah, then we had people in the US, in something like 10 or 12 cities. We made a couple of acquisitions. We raised around. I mean, it's a completely different business, obviously, to your question. And when I left Workleap, it wasn't for Vacation Tracker. I left Workleap, and I wasn't even sure what I was going to do next. To be honest, I took a full year off, or almost a full year. This was like the early days of AI, and things were changing quite a bit. And I remember I did a bunch of I had a bunch of conversation with headhunters that reached out to go towards Workleap type opportunities. SaaS businesses that were 200-300 people. And like, I remember thinking, I don't, that's not where I want to be. I want to be in a small business, and I want to test the limits of this thing, like of this revolutionary, technology that's coming. And I had known, Lan and Slobodan, the two co-founders of Vacation Tracker, for a very long time. And, it was just like good timing in terms of like what they were ready to do in terms of transitioning and how to run the business. So one thing led to another, and I onboarded about a year ago. But yeah, I was actually looking for something small to test this like theory of being able to like massively grow a business with either zero or very little headcount growth. And that's what we're going for. So it's super exciting. It's, to get back to your question, it's very, very different. It's obviously, like, I come from a technical background. I studied in computer science, and I got quite far away from it, starting from probably like my late EA days. I worked at the EA, the video game company, where I got into like more operations management and running the business. And then I was more like exec in a bunch of other companies that were larger. And I kind of lost touch with kind of the nitty gritty tech aspect. And and I think the peak of that was probably actually Workleap. Workleap, I was recording for the board, and I had like this leadership team of very senior executives, and they had directors, and they had managers, and they had staff. And it was a lot of, I mean, it wasn't super heavy, but it's still 450 people to manage, right? So you inevitably, yes, you can do touch points with, developers and someone in QA or whatever, or customer success, but it's not the same in your day to day as being like really part of a very small team and seeing everything that happens, and being in the tools yourself and playing with the tech yourself. And it's been super refreshing. I started that kind of year that I took off. I was like exploring a bunch of projects, and I was playing around with the tech also. And I think LLMs kind of got me back into coding, actually. I kind of relearned how to, just the basics of like how things work and how things evolve. And they evolved quite a bit in the last 20 years. And I kind of became much more passionate about, being close to the tech. So yeah, being in a small company is like, it's awesome with these new capabilities. You get to touch everything and do the things that are fun and try to automate things and use the tech and grow the business. And, yeah, it's a blast.
Since you were so passionate about this new tech emerging, was there an itch to kind of jump into it and like AI everything?
Well, I mean, it could be tempting, but that's where like I guess 20 years of running a business experience comes into play of like, okay, like let's not go into like shiny object syndrome and like these things, there's waves of these revolutionary technologies that happen. And I think, again, with the nuance, like you have to see what works, what doesn't, and what's good for the business versus just playing around with stuff. I think it's good to just play around with stuff. And I do that as a hobby. I created like my little OpenClaw setup. I don't know if you followed that, the OpenClaw movement, but, so I'm playing around with that as a hobby and I'm playing with all these models and what they're good at, what they're not good at. But the business is not the place to do that. Like you do that kind of as a hobby to learn, to educate yourself on the tech, and keep up to date. In the business, you can experiment, but there has to be some kind of a hypothesis of business value, right? So I think like running a business for 20 plus years, it kind of, it forces you in this mindset of like, okay, you always go back to like, why are we doing this? How is this going to help the
Thing.
business? And this like, very, focused track of always asking for, the purpose of why we're doing this.
Yeah, that makes great sense. You said OpenClaw, and I just realized that, ever since Peter was hired by OpenAI, I haven't heard anything about OpenClaw. It
True.
just disappeared, huh?
We were all expecting some kind of, there has to be like some kind of product launch eventually.
Yeah. I mean,
And
aren't they wait, what is the what's the recent gossip? Who's suing who?
well,
For for
Elon sued Sam and lost.
okay. But that
And
happens all the time.
yeah,
Now it's the um someone launched the new box that looked too much like the other box. I don't know. I have to check my sources, but there is a new lawsuit.
oh, okay, I didn't know.
Um,
Regarding OpenClaw?
yeah, no, regarding OpenAI.
Oh, okay,
But
yeah, yeah.
I forgot. Is OpenAI suing somebody, or is someone suing OpenAI? Is it Microsoft now suing? Doesn't matter. Somebody
Microsoft is
is
on
suing someone.
their shareholders and are on the board. So if there's a
I,
lawsuit, that's going to be quite messy.
I, don't- I hope so. We need some
Yeah.
some action there because it's just too boring, too predictable. But anyway, another thing I wanted to ask you, because I love pricing stories, to be honest, and I know that you guys changed pricing. It's not a very new story. It happened like more than half a year ago.
Yeah.
But I wonder, how, if AI has anything to do with that. And also, another question that I wanted to ask you is about the trial period. Because always with HR tools, I feel
Yeah.
like if there is a trial period, it's always too short. It's like, because HR is moving so slowly
Yeah.
that like 2 weeks is basically nothing.
Yeah.
So why did you think that this is something you're going to go with? Is it just like golden standard and okay, let's try it out? Or there is an underlying research, we actually thought about this.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned, so we just changed our trial period like last week.
There you
It
go.
used to be, so it used to be, 1 week that you could extend to 2 weeks, and we just doubled it. So now it's 2 weeks by default, extendable to 4 weeks if you need 4 weeks. And I mean, without going into like the data and like kind of product analytics, I mean, high level, it was short by design because our ICP was very small companies, right? So in like a 30-person company, you don't need usually a month to try, a leave management solution. Um, And what happened over time, and that's why we adjusted it last week, is our ICP kind of started going slightly up market, more around like 50 to 200-ish employees. Where companies, there's more of a decisional process, there's layers, there's more approvals, it's a more expensive decision. And that's why we basically doubled the trial period. So I still think like our tool is it's pretty easy to implement. And we have a great support team that helps with onboarding and getting everything set up and importing data. It's like a 150 person company can easily implement and deploy the data tracker in 2 weeks at most. So I think we're kind of at the sweet spot. We'll see how it evolves. I mean, it's something that we're constantly tracking, but yeah, trial periods are, it's one of those things where I guess it's kind of like pricing and packaging. You're kind of constantly looking at it, and it's a constantly unsolved thing that you need to work on.
That's true. So what about the general pricing? Has AI anything to do with that?
No pricing. So yeah, we changed our pricing. And I'm not, I can't say AI has really, I mean, maybe it was part of the decisional factor in the core, in the pricing of the core, which kind of competes maybe a little bit more with like the whole vibe coding movement. But at the same time, like it's a small overlap in terms of like the use case of vibe coding your own product and kind of where we start. There's an overlap, but it's not very big. No, the pricing was just kind of healthy adjusting to like the market and competitors and inflation, and the product hadn't changed prices in over 2 years. So it was just like a healthy thing to do. And
Okay.
it's always kind of a stressful thing to do, I think, when you go into kind of pricing discovery. But it went pretty well. We were predicting it's always kind of the same. When you've done it a few times in SaaS, you kind of know the rodeo of changing your prices. And there's risk
That's
mitigation that you
scary.
could do to do that. But yeah, I mean, churn's going to go up a bit, and your MR goes up quite a bit, and you kind of do mitigation to keep people engaged and good communication, and give people a heads up and a good grandfathering program, and things go pretty smoothly after that.
Okay. Awesome. Like, to be honest, every time I talk about pricing, it's kind of the same story. Like, everyone fears it, and then they're like, "No, we need a bit more money." We do. Press the button. Like, and then, nothing
It's
really happens, and it's not like a huge churn or anything.
it's it's a dangerous thing. You have to be very careful with why why you're changing your prices. If you're changing your prices just to like pocket more money, it's probably not the right answer. Because I mean, I've seen companies do that, and I mean, it's always like you have to be conscious of value perception of your product, and what's available out there, and how you position yourselves, with regards to competitors, and how much pain you alleviate. And you have to ask yourself all these questions, right? It can't just be, I want 10% more MRR, so the price just went up 10%. I mean, it might work, it might not. You might actually get more churn, and you might actually dip into like negative net results, right? So it's something that you have to keep track of, and be very conscious as to why you're doing it. I think that's the underlying principle
Yeah.
that you have to respect.
Yeah, absolutely. I might have exaggerated it very slightly, but I think the one thing that everyone keeps talking about that is changing and becoming a lot more difficult for SaaS companies, especially smaller ones, is distribution. And I wonder, how it's changing for you, because in my
Mhm.
head, it's nuanced, like you said. It's
Yeah.
it's maybe very different for new companies, but for quote unquote boring businesses, it might not have changed that much. And I wonder if that's your story, or you're seeing, some changes.
There's definitely changes. I don't have the exact number top of mind, but I want to say discovery through LLMs is a very big part of our inbound now. Um, I would say between 30 and 50%. And
Okay.
so when I started in the business a year ago, I think it was like less than 10%. So, I mean, it gives a pretty good idea of, and I mean, I don't think it's slowing down. And it's quite hard to measure, to be honest, from a tactical perspective, because Google has now integrated LLM responses in Google search. So, if you go to Google.com and search like leave management solution, it'll give you like this AI overview, and we're actually going to rank in there. And then you have like paid search and then organic results. So when Google reports, when we get the Google data, it's very hard to know if it was like a Google's LLM answer or paid, or paid obviously we know, but or organic. But yeah, I mean, to your point, it's changing quite a bit. I think I see so much. To be honest, I get an email every day of someone pitching me like LLM ranking solutions, and the amount of, for lack of a better term, grift that's going on right now. Like these companies that are just playing off the fear of, this kind of transition. It's pretty astonishing. But I guess, I mean, it makes sense. I think a lot of people are scared of what's going on. Um,
Yeah.
and the numbers don't lie, right? Like that 30 to 50% proportion that I mentioned, I'm sure many other companies are seeing it. So we're doing quite well in terms of like how we rank in LLMs. I think a lot of
But
that is,
I'm sorry, can I interrupt you here? Because
yeah.
you said we're doing pretty well with the ranking your LMs. Do you know what you're actually doing to to be
Well,
there?
I was going to get to that. So
Okay.
it's hard. It's a hypothesis because you don't have as much, like as many like dashboards and like OpenAI's starting, and we're starting to look into like these like kind of search paid dashboards with OpenAI. It's very nascent in terms of paid. That's for paid search. I don't know what they call it. It's not search, but paid LLM results, I guess, or recommendations. For natural like LLM results, it has to be content. It's content and credibility of content, and I think we produce a lot of content compared to our competitors. Like in the leave, like to give you a quick overview, kind of where we stand in the kind of leave management landscape in terms of competitors. There's like the really big players that have leave management as part of their HRS solution, like a Bamboo and Lattice, and they do leave tracking within their HRS, and we're not at all in the same kind of league as them in terms of like business size and market presence. Obviously, when it comes to like pure leave management, it's a very fragmented market with a lot of very small players, and within that market, we're probably one of the biggest players. So we're like I describe us as like we're in the biggest of the small guys when it comes to lead management, which is an interesting position because we can produce an astonishing amount of content. If you look at our competitors, they have 3, 4, 5, 6 people. A few of them have like 15, 20, kind of similar size as us, but we actually have quite a decent amount of manpower to produce quality content, and I think that's what's been helping us a lot. Written, but also we do a lot of video, and video gets transcribed to scripts, and scripts get ingested into LLMs, and that helps us quite a bit. So I think it's kind of an
You mean that's
LLM.
YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube. Yeah,
Okay.
shorts, more long format, talking about from like everything, PTO and lead management, from people energy management, which we're kind of starting to play around with, to like the history of lead management and the pros and cons of certain types of leave types, with personality types. And we're just, you by producing this relatively high quality content, you become this authority, I think, in how LLMs rank, who knows what and who's good at what. So
Yeah.
that would be my best hypothesis of why you're doing so well in terms of LLM ranking.
Awesome. Yeah, because I was playing around with all the rankers out there,
Yeah.
and it's I would go like every day of the month, and it's changing. And why is it changing?
Yeah.
I have no idea because, like, for example, I haven't updated the website in the last month,
Yeah.
and like what? But why are we growing? Or It was such a black box for me, and at the end of the day, I kind of made peace with it by saying, okay, we're just doing good content, and we keep pushing what's working
Yeah.
more than anything, and then we'll see how it goes. About the energy tracker, I saw it on the website, and I was like, oh my god, you can create so much funny
Oh yeah.
content about this. Like corporate with energy tracker. It's just, yeah, it could be so fun. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's really interesting what you said about YouTube, because I mean, I've been doing the podcast for 4 years now,
Yeah.
and it does come up. It's really weird. I didn't know at first, at first when I started tracking this, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't know that YouTube even comes up there, but apparently it does. And
Oh
if
yeah.
I can share a tiny hack with you, I don't know if it's a hack, I don't
Of
know if
course.
it helps, but it somehow, the shorts that have, obviously there is a transcript from YouTube,
Yes.
but if your shorts have captions, they get cited even more. I don't know
Huh.
how it helps. It's
I
like
thought
double
it's auto.
text. It's
Interesting.
yeah.
So I guess because there's less work to transpire to text.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Huh.
But if you during editing, you add captions and
Okay.
they're well edited,
Yeah.
then it works better. I don't know.
Do you mean
That's just an
like
observation.
do you mean like full captions at every single word, or just like highlighted text like a lot of people do?
No,
You
no.
don't have to.
I notice it with when I do captions, and it's a one
Right.
line
So
after line
highlighted
after line.
text.
So basically, yes, yes. So basically, like a
Okay.
karaoke kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
That we're doing. I think that's a known. I don't know if it's if it's a ranking thing or more like a popularity thing. I'm not sure if it's the actual text that's making it
I
rank
don't know.
better or the
Yeah,
style, right? Yeah, like you
yeah.
said, it's a bit of a
No
black
idea.
box. Yeah.
Yes. But interesting that yeah, you're doing it too, and I guess you're doing pretty all right there. So what do you think? What's kind of like the prediction? What's actually happening with SaaS? Like where is Vacation Tracker going to be sitting next year, in a couple of years? Is it still
Yeah.
going to be a SaaS or something else?
Um, I think in 1 year's time, I'm pretty sure it's going to look quite similar. Obviously, we're going to keep growing the business and we're going to keep investing in innovation. And I really think there's something to be done with energy management, not just for the visibility aspect of it, but just helping people, like actually providing value in terms of like how people manage their own energy and how people manage their teams and their team's energy. Everyone's different and everyone has their own personality, and not everyone responds the same way to 2 days off or a long weekend or 2 weeks off or every personality type. And there's a bunch of research around this, proves that you recharge differently, depending on the type of time off that you take. So bringing, like, just making people more conscious into like better managing their own energy for the benefit of themselves and for the business. I think there's a lot to be done there in terms of innovation. And then that mixed in, what excites me the most, to be very honest, is that. So leave management being like that, growing that system of record, then plugging in people energy management and accessing that through MCP. So we built our own MCP server a few months ago. Usage is going up. It's still very small, but usage is going up quite linearly. I think adoption is quite early, but the use cases are absolutely incredible. So when you treat Claude as one of your workspaces and you start planning, your next offsite and your next project or your next product idea, and then you connect that to Jira and Slack and Office 365 and Vacation Tracker via MCP, you can start planning your workflows around like who's who's recently been in and who's actually available. And actually, there's a stat holiday in Spain, so this person's not available, but this other person just came back from vacation, so they're recharged, and it actually helped you run the business. And I think the whole headless movement is just getting started, and it's one of the things that I'm most interested in at the moment. And I think maybe not in a year's time, but in a few years, we were talking about pricing before, that will most likely be our window to maybe shift towards a value-based or usage-based pricing. Instead of having like a $4 per user per month, typical
Yeah.
SaaS model, going more towards like some kind of value-based pricing. That might unlock that different type of pricing. But I don't think that's in a year. I think a year is probably a bit too short. But in the next few years, I think it's a definite possibility.
Okay. So SaaS is not dying.
SaaS is definitely not dying. Again, with like that little caveat of like, I think some very specific type of SaaS, that like that
Yeah.
presentation layer SaaS that I was talking about, I would not personally want to be in their shoes, but all the other SaaSes that own important data and manage important data and actually provide value with that data, I think, I think things are going quite well, actually.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we will get back to it in a year's time. you know, I, I'll download all my transcripts and ask LLM for all the predictions and
Yes,
blah, blah, blah. And then I'll rank
all the
them
predictions.
against, yes. And then I'll post it next year this time.
Yeah.
Okay, I just have one more question for you, all right? Because we're in a bubble for sure, SF or not, but we're talking about SaaS and pricing and AI
Yes.
most of all. So, is there anything on the internet that made you really excited lately that is not AI?
Did you say on the internet?
Yes. Do
Um,
people still say that?
I'm, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it counts as on the internet, but I'm a bit of a aviation and space kind of geek. I've been following that world forever. Obviously, like huge fan of like all their kind of new rocket companies. And I'm, I guess it's kind of related to AI, so I don't want to like dodge a question, but what what the new tech is enabling, I think, is like this next generation of space exploration, and that I find is absolutely incredible. So that's actually two things. There's like very far away with the space exploration, and they're very close to us for more like people mobility and helping people with disabilities and augmenting like the human body and robots, and like again related to AI or enabled by AI, but the use case is not AI itself. I think those are the two things that I'm the most excited about, maybe as a consumer more than anything. Maybe not as a builder, but as a consumer.
Yeah. All right. Can I ask you what your kids? I don't know how many you
Two
have.
boys, two young boys.
Two.
Yeah.
What do they think? Do they think about AI already? And what do they think?
The youngest is 6, so he's a little bit too young. Although we have this like Google Home thing, and he keeps asking it questions, which is pretty cute. So he actually interacts by voice with our Google Home, and he asks to play music and stuff. My oldest one is 10 years old, and if I want to give him a reward, is putting Rock in chat mode and him having a conversation with Rock. Like he absolutely loves it. He'll create these like scenarios of like science fiction characters battling each other out and playing around and making movies. And that's his idea of a good time. So he's definitely AI aware at that age.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. I also want to collect those because like I think it's so interesting like what kids because again they are in families where AI is a pressing
Yeah.
topic. So like what do
Yeah.
they think about AI?
It's
Yeah.
crazy how they just take it for granted. Like it's just a thing that exists. And he's like,
Yeah.
hey, can I talk to Grok? I'm like, okay. Like I have my
Mm-hmm.
phone and like,
Yes. Yes. Mine does
yeah,
that too. Like I'll go talk to ChatGPT.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
okay. Yeah. Why
Yeah.
not? I mean, you guys
It's,
have fun.
the world they're going to live in a few years is going to be quite incredible.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for the story. I mean, it's great what you're doing. It's very fascinating. It's, to quote unquote AI, it's refreshing to
Yeah.
to talk to somebody who's like not all hyped about
Right.
what's going on and like all doomed and everything. So yeah, thank you for that. And like I said, hopefully we get to do it again sometime and see where we at with predictions and whatnot.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to revisit this. Like you said, come up with these predictions and have another one in like 1 or 2 years and see where we're at. It's going to be, I think, very interesting. But thanks for having me on. It was a
Yeah.
super interesting conversation.
Cool. Thank you so much. And
All right.
take care.
Thanks, Anna.